Cities are spaces for friction, but also for care and engagement. You could be part of a community where you do not know all the members by their names or appearance, but you do feel genuine love. We cannot think of urbanism without the built and the virtual environments where the social tissues are constantly being woven and dissolved. As individuals operating in this current day and age, we are, whether we like it or not, part of an intricate social and capital network. Establishing connections between singular persons or redefining the frameworks around the bonds that may already exist between them can be an act of resistance or change. This is where artistic interventions parachute into unfamiliar contexts with disruptive projects that can foster discursive frameworks and leave the individual lives positively transformed forever. The individual experiences, the social bonds, created and destroyed, framed and carved, are what that brings everyone together. The success of these practices is often quantified through tangible outcomes. Yet, it is their non-material aspects that have the greatest impact and leave the strongest legacy. We Are Never Alone is a residency project curated by METASITU within the context of the second city scanning sessions urban festival MANUFUTURING in Ivano-Frankivsk, where activists, urbanists, cultural workers, artists, architects, researchers, performers, among others were invited from Ukraine and abroad to come together for 1 month to develop, reflect, criticize, experiment and suggest new forms of urban participatory practices. This year's theme, Manufacturing, organized by the MetaLab Urban Laboratory of Tepelmisto, addressed the potential future of the Promprylad factory, a post-industrial space in the center of Ivano-Frankivsk, which, as its industrial function gradually retreats, is undergoing a deep social and built transformation. How can collective strategies, tactics, and approaches facilitate the interaction between the current workers and its adjacent neighbors? Promprylad had an illustrious history of over a century. The factory had up to 5,000 workers and its products were exported to 26 countries. In the 1990s, the manufacturing declined because it couldn't adjust to the demands of the free market. A small fraction of the production has been preserved at Promprylad. Today, it produces gas and petrol product meters. New types of production were spurred by the Promprylad Innovation Project launched in 2018. The old factory walls will soon host a lab for industrial experiments, while a number of creative production facilities making original accessories, video content, printed products, etc. are already up and running. During the 1-month stay at Ivano-Frankivsk, the residents explored the city and the inner workings of the factory. They developed an understanding of the history of this place and where it stands today. Sometimes they were found digging up the archives, while other times they tried to blend with the workers in order to find out the non-archived aspect of their history, simultaneously crossing paths with the workers of the new and upcoming industry of creative production as well. They also got to interact with various guest artists from various different places on a regular basis in order to widen their understanding of urban participatory practices on similar contexts but on a regional scale. After a couple of weeks of exploration, brunch meetings, picnics and hiking, research and presentations, the residents had cemented themselves as temporary locals, and their ideas started to flourish. Cam and Claudie initiated their action research by putting themselves in the shoes of the workers. During their 2-week-long internship, they lived the life of the workers by working with them. They not only shared their daily routine, but also their social moments. Their attempt to frame some of the reflections gathered during the action research slowly took shape in the form of a festival hosted by the workers. They built everything from scratch by sharing tools from both the old and the new part of the factory. They called it a mirror festival that acts on one hand as a celebration of this remaining and the peculiarity of its condition, and on the other hand as a collective effort to mark a resistance in the current unfriendly environment for such a phenomenon. Tiana, like Cam and Claudie, also spent significant amount of time inside the factory during the working hours, exploring, interacting with the people and spaces. She started to envision the factory world here as the only world there is, and the workers as inhabitants. She found fascinating possibilities at the factory corners for minor interventions that could trigger the interest of those passing by. Interventions they will possibly engage with. If something triggers their interest, there will be a disruption in their thoughts, and they will pay attention. They will discover new things, even possibly the things that are already forgotten. Like this forgotten theatre, for example, could become a platform for rethinking. In her quest of creating a new mean of communication among the workers, she not only created an installation with people, objects and spaces, she also posed a bigger question: what is progress? Participatory art is a rather broad concept, but its prominent feature is direct engagement of the audience in the process of joint creation. Artists who have worked alone for centuries suddenly began to attract the public and to interfere in the socio-political sphere. Can a city be united for one purpose? That was the question posed by Sasha Papruga. She intended to continue a dialogue that had begun by previous urban and artistic practices, a dialogue between the inhabitants of the neighborhood and the workers of the creative industry from the revitalized part of Promprylad, in order to keep giving new meanings to their surroundings. Her initiation of a collective cleaning act attracted a large number of enthusiastic participants. She then built a boat from recycled plastic bottles. And her symbolic performance turned the space into a cultural oasis.
15 minutes, and then we will go to the exhibition space of Zuza, where she will give her presentation in her location. So yeah, guys, continue talking.
Zuza, coming from Gdansk, a region of Poland that has a unique history in terms of shipyards, manufacturing and production. It has nurtured the critical aspects of our practice involving materials from local industries.
I create works that are usually, most of them create the possibility to use them, or they're in some way to be experienced.
She converts the metal leftovers from Promprylad factory into a series of sculptures called moons. The moons are realized with the resources and machinery available in Promprylad factory and executed in collaboration with the factory workers on site. This is an example of industrial practice literally turned into art production.
So thank you for coming to see it, and
It's amazing.
thank
It's
you.
in my apartment.
What is the measurement of life? How far have you walked? Or how long did it take you to do so? According to Teresa, a known measure is a very unstable form of perception. This indeed is true, as we found ourselves in a unique situation.
This is when I passed by and the guy was going out of the office.
Teresa was born here, only 500 meters away from Promprylad. She has not lived here long. After decades of interval, after moving through different cities and countries, her trajectories led her to the same street where she was born.
I found some wonderful creatures around, and mainly, there are 6 dogs that live in the district. And this spot where we're here, they mostly chill here. And I was once trying to hide from rain with them in the same place. I didn't capture that moment, but I think that we got quite close. Going straight, so that is why I'm going also.
She captured her memories alongside the history of the street in a retrospective way and presented it in the form of a performative walk.
So they won't let us in tomorrow. One more station.
It shows how time and distance warp during the measurement of life.
My goodness! This is gorilla style video! Yeah.
It just shows what a good spy I am. And then I went. Oh yeah, there you go.
Not too far from the street where Teresa performed her walk, Sasha Kurmas dreams of a treehouse as an urban space that will be autonomous and will have different functional purposes. It could be a place for solitude or shelter, a home for animals or a place to rest, a place to play, a place for art, or even a place for love.
A husband and a wife.
Or all at the same time.
Firstly, I would love to say thank you for the amazing team that I find by MetaLab, like a main constructor and architect of the project, and actually the guy who created this amazing sculpture, it's a Dima Starchuk, yeah, that guy. Also, he has like a really amazing team who support him, like, let's say, architectural assistant. There was more people, but three guys that like work most of the time for the building. So it's Ilya Bugaychuk, Oleg Osipov, and Yuri Tsemko. So this four person like really make it possible to build this house.
Repair the balcony. This is the wood thing that came out.
And this factory is closed and abandoned till, let's say, the first problem started at 2008. And from 2015, it's totally closed and totally abandoned. And I knew about this factory during a music event called METASITU. And this factory looks like the most enormous factory nearby Ivano-Frankivsk.
Dana's project, Workers of Invisible Labor, tells the story of the not archived history of the Pressmarsh plant, one of the most powerful industrial sites in Ukraine in the past, situated at the outskirts of Ivano-Frankivsk. Apart from the history of the plant as a strategic unit, it is also the history of thousands of workers and their labor, which today is doomed to invisibility. The memory of a powerful industrial past dissolves and becomes just a romantic ruin. Now, a growing generation, fascinated by the awe-inspiring aesthetic of large-scale remnants of the industry, has given a second birth to it. They, like their previous generations, repeat the same route from home, through the passage and to the shops. But the sounds of techno are no longer from the machines.
The exhibition.
Olya and Ilya decided to revisit some of the participatory workshops that took place 2 years ago in the framework of the City Scanning Session 2017. It is an artistic inquiry into the phenomenon of participation, an attempt to understand its social and political function, its meaning to the people involved, and its influence on them and the city. They recollected and shared memories from the previous initiatives and produced further discussion about the political meaning and potential of each workshop, as well as about structural hierarchies and power relations by which the workshops were effected. Their reenactment exercises took us to have breakfast at a vegetable market, film screening at a neighborhood courtyard, landscaping of an abandoned park, camping at the island of a lake, and so on. Taking inspiration from Sasha Kurmaz's Treehouse, Alice wanted to explore the idea of shelter and escape in and outside the urban fabric, an exploration of how the proximity with nature and solitary experiences can bring a moment of truthful reflection on the idea of a shared environment. How the effects of deterritorialization versus site specificity can become a way to experience the coming together of a politics of difference found within a certain abstraction of space. In this collective performative reading session, which is a process rather than an end product, Alice shares excerpts from her current research on the notion of community and its combinations. According to her, it serves as a glue as much as a diversion to form a narrative about communities, while simultaneously inviting the public to make it its own. According to her, the nature of this performance is more like a bedtime reading session rather than a workshop or academic study.
And welcome to our brunch with artists. This was Diviendo's presentation. He's been here documenting the whole process of our residency.